The next deputation is Mr. Irvin, who I think is here in person. Welcome, Mr. Irvin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. My name's Paul Irvin. I'd like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak. That was quite heartbreaking to hear that, and I can totally sympathise with what they were saying.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you want to sit down?
All right.
You're okay to sit.
I thought I had to stand. Okay. Some of you may be aware that I took part in the meeting in February where I gave a deputation where I actually asked for dogs to be banned in cemeteries because of my ongoing situation. This is probably a good idea to explain who I am. I'm Paul Irvin, who's the father of Xander Irvin, who was killed on Morningside Road two years ago. And there was a lot of soft toys, flowers, etc. left at the scene that we had moved over to the grave. There's been people leaving stuff over the last couple of years, and it wasn't long before I started realising that things were going missing. Some were returned, some were lost completely, some started getting destroyed. I've got teddies over the road where their heads have been ripped off, the arms have been ripped off, some have even been completely shredded and totally lost. It wasn't long before I realised it was actually dog walkers who were letting their dogs off the lead who were doing this, and I've witnessed it on many occasions. One of the main ones being the one that prompted me to take more action was my wife was 8.5 months pregnant with her new son, and we were just sitting having a quiet, reflective moment, and a young dog came running over, grabbed one of the teddies and just ran off with it. And it took the woman 5 minutes or more to retrieve the teddy. And meanwhile, my wife was totally upset. She was in tears. And that made me think, well, I have to do something. That's what I've been writing to everybody, emailing everybody, my local MP, just to see what I can do. After the last meeting, I reluctantly agreed that we should maybe just have the compromise of dogs being kept on leads. And since then, I've been waiting to find out where the signs are, because I keep approaching people and say, excuse me, you should have your dog on a lead. And the first thing they say is, well, there's no signs. So I've been kind of hounding the council to find out why the signs are not in place. But then I kind of realised that the rules are not in place until you guys vote on it today. That's what's prompted me to come and speak to you again today to try and make sure that that actually happens, because I was kind of under the impression that it might not happen. And yeah, I still think dogs should be banned. I mean, especially after listening to what just happened with those people there. I've got a colleague, well, a friend here she's from the Friends of Morningside community group. They do a lot of good work in maintaining the cemetery. And I know for a fact that 2 of her friends, that now bear in mind that these people are past retirement age, they were just sitting, working away, planting bulbs, and on 2 occasions, dogs have jumped on their backs. One of the guys was actually in severe shock after it, and the woman actually said to him, well, what were you doing down there in the first place? Like, he was in the wrong. I've had various altercations with people, met with a lot of hostility. Some people have actually stopped and listened to my story and then turned around and said, well, okay, I'm really sorry. So I do believe that if people were educated and told why they shouldn't really be walking about with their dogs and leads, then it might change. And we need more people like Charlotte. I don't know if you know Charlotte. She goes over and she speaks to people, and she's doing very good work over there. But not everybody's going to do that. And I do have to say that even people that do take their dogs on leads, some of these leads can reach way over to the other side of this room. And I think that's pointless. And one of the things that really frustrates me is that they let the dogs urinate on the headstones. If I seen anybody let their dog urinate on my son's grave, I don't know what I would do. It would enrage me. And I don't think I should be put through that. if I could just have a quick look at some of the other things I've got here. I mean, I've got so much stuff here and so many things that have happened. I mentioned we have a new son. He's 1 year old. He is now starting to crawl and won't be far off walking. I want him to be safe when I go every day to visit Xander's grave. I live right across the road. I can watch people. My window looks onto the entrance to Morningside Cemetery. I can watch people, what they're doing every day. And it's actually starting to affect my mental health. I mean, obviously, I'm not in the best of places because of what happened anyway, but I watch these people on a daily basis taking their dogs over, and for the sole reason to exercise them and to use a convenient toilet, which I don't agree with. I mean, I've got no problem with anybody that's got an assistance dog, or want to visit a grave, or pass through even as a thoroughfare through to the next street, as long as the dog's kept on a lead. But when they go over with the sole purpose of letting a dog off to exercise it and to urinate and fill wherever they want, I mean, most of the time they pick it up, but still, that's a cemetery. To urinate on a headstone, whether, I've said this before, whether it's 2 weeks old or 200 years old, it doesn't matter. That is somebody's memory, and I just think it's wrong. And as I said earlier, I take my son over there every day, and he's sometimes crawling around. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder for some dog coming over. Dogs are unpredictable. And I even know that there's some people that take dangerous dogs in there, and some of the people even look dangerous themselves. And I worry that he could be attacked by somebody. And if the dog was on the lead, there's less chance of that happening. I've heard the arguments about how would you enforce that, but then rules are made and broken every day. How do you enforce any rule? This is Xander's final resting place. I can't take him anywhere else. I've got no choice to leave him there, but the people that take their dogs, they've got so much choice around my area anyway. I can't speak for the whole of Edinburgh, but there's so many places around me where they can take them. They actually walk past the park where it's actually okay to take your dog to go into the cemetery, which I don't understand. So I can't take Xander anywhere. I'm forced to be there. They are not. They've got a choice. I would like to actually know if you are all aware that these people are actually taking them there with the sole purpose of exercising and to foul. And are you okay with that? And also, there's the fouling rule. That's not very clear to me. It's a bit conflicting. It says on these new rules that the dogs are not allowed to foul. Now, does that mean... I am not naive enough to think that anybody passing through or going to visit a grave, the dog will foul, and as long as they pick it up, that's fine. But to go there with the sole purpose of letting the dog foul, is that not conflicting these rules that you've proposed to put in place? I don't know. I mean, can you tell me that? One last couple of things. I do think, as I've said probably earlier, we're lucky enough to live in a city where there's plenty of space for dog walkers. I think they should be a bit more considerate, and just even if it has to be another 5 minutes walk to take it to these places, be a bit more considerate to people that are trying to use that place as a place of remembrance, rather than just for them to conveniently use it as their dog toilet. I just think it's wrong. And I do say this with a degree of confidence that if these rules don't get passed today, I will not be the only one who will be extremely disappointed, and I will continue to fight to get something done about it, especially after hearing things like the couple said earlier on. That was just disgraceful. And I can totally sympathise, because I've been through a lot myself and met with a lot of hostility from people. When you just try and approach them and say, excuse me, do you realise you should have your dog off the lead? And the first thing is, oh, there's no signs. You people think you own the cemetery. And some people have been really quite rude. Actually, one last thing. On the 2nd anniversary of Xander's death, I was over quite a few times that day, as you would expect. And when I walked in, there was a young couple with quite a large young dog, and they were wrestling with it to get something out of its mouth. And as I walked over, it was a teddy. But I didn't recognise that teddy. I know all the teddies that are over there. I go over every day on many occasions. And I said to them, excuse me, is that teddy from the grave over there? And they said, oh, yeah, yeah. And so I managed to get the teddy back off them. There was no apology. They actually made me feel bad for being a bit upset with them. And I later on found out that that teddy was left that day by my neighbour upstairs, that her little daughter had left it there. And that the first time I had actually seen that teddy was in that dog's mouth. So I could go on, and I've written to a lot of you guys and explained other things that have happened in the past. Some of you might even remember what I said from the last time as well. I guess I should probably just leave it there, unless Rona here has actually written a wee letter. If I could actually just read that out, it's just a brief thing. I hope I read it properly. Rona wanted to speak today, but I think she left her application a bit too short. As a volunteer gardener organiser of Friends of Morningside Cemetery, I'm asking if it would be appropriate for me to attend the council meeting tomorrow regarding our continuing problem with the dogs in the cemetery. Dogs, when allowed to run free, which some still do, not only foul the area, but have been aggressive to volunteers and others and clearly out of control. Dogs are also responsible for the removal and destruction of items, mementos placed by bereaved family and laird holders on the graves of their loved ones. All this is less likely to happen if dogs are kept on leads. And I think that kind of sums it up. So, thank you very much for your time.
And thank you for your contribution. Very powerful and moving.
Okay, thank you.